ever wonder how the NFL went from like muddy brawls to this polished spectacle? We're going deep on the NFL, this whole American institution.
Yeah.
We've got the Pro Football Hall of Fame stuff. We dug into Wikipedia, even found some old game footage on
Oh,
YouTube.
nice.
Get ready for some serious aha moments, really.
It's wild. It's way more surprising than people realize, I think.
Yeah.
Full of twists and turns and, scandals, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, for sure. So, okay, picture this. 1892, Pennsylvania. First pro football game ever.
And the big man on campus,
Yeah.
the Yale guy, gotta love it, William Pudge Heffelfinger.
Pudge, okay.
This guy, Pudge, gets paid serious cash to play for the Allegheny Athletic Association, which is insane.
Yeah.
Getting paid to play.
That's mind-blowing back then. Like,
Yeah.
did they even have fantasy leagues?
Not quite.
Yeah,
And
they
forget
just-
the fancy helmets, pads. These guys are practically in street clothes, brutal tackles, and it wasn't like uncommon for it to just become a fist fight,
Yeah.
bite-in, eye-gouging, different world.
Intense. So how do we get from that mayhem to the NFL? Like, we know it.
Long road, man. Over 100 players died from this early on. Thousands messed up for life. It wasn't until the 40s things started changing.
What happened in the 40s? Was it the forward pass or?
Forward pass was earlier, actually, but yeah, huge for strategy. The 40s, it's three big things. Set game schedule, TV comes in, and this is huge plastic helmets.
Now it seems obvious, but back then, revolutionary.
100%. Schedule means fans can follow the team, TV puts it in your living room, and those helmets. Big step towards, getting players need protecting.
Made it legit, all that. But wasn't there a game like the 50s that really put the NFL on the map?
You're talking 58 championship, Colts-Giants, the greatest game ever played, they call it. First time ever, sudden death overtime.
45 million people watched on TV. Back then, insane, right?
National phenomenon, more than a game. It was captured everyone. Suddenly, the NFL wasn't some niche thing. It was the sport. Changed everything.
Wow. One game. But even with all this, they still had problems. Integration, right, big one.
Yeah, well, Jackie Robinson's changing baseball. NFL's behind. Officially desegregated 46, but some teams, Redskins especially, they held out till 62.
So even with the progress, still that prejudice. Tough to hear.
And it took the AFL, honestly, to force some change there.
The AFL, okay, so rivalry time. What made them such a threat?
Imagine, the younger brother, but with money and attitude coming in hot. They signed the black players, the NFL ignored, played this wide-open, exciting game. Chargers, Bills, Raiders brought a new energy,
So both leagues had to step up their game. But what led to that 66 merger?
Well, officially, yeah, ending the rivalry, making one super league. Those bidding wars for players were nuts. Merger gave them control back, salaries, the business side.
It's crazy, right? Football, and you've got all this competition, money, social change, all mixed up. So merger, Super Bowl, that's the story.
Oh, we're just getting started. Those money problems, they come back around, but in a way nobody saw coming.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. We're going to have to pause here, though, but don't worry. We'll be back with more of this NFL saga. So we left off with this big merger, right? A turning point for the NFL. But it seems like they just couldn't escape these rivalries. The 70s and 80s, constant power struggles, right?
Yeah, they had a new challenger, the World Football League. Didn't last, but hey, made the NFL adapt.
And then came the USFL. What was their deal?
Okay, so 1983, right? They pop up, aiming high, trying to be the next NFL, basically.
Yeah.
Big name coaches, star players, money to burn. They were serious.
They even tried to, force a merger. Did that work out?
Well, they won a lawsuit. Antitrust said the NFL had a monopoly on TV. But get this, they only got $1 in damages. $1.
Ouch. Not a good sign. So what happened? Did they fold?
86, they were gone. Overspending, bad calls, the whole 9 yards. Trying to go head-to-head with the NFL in the fall. That was a nail in the coffin, I think.
Yikes. Big mistake. It's amazing. The NFL just keeps rolling with the punches. What else went down in the 80s and 90s?
Man, those were the days. You had Montana and Rice with the 49ers. Just a dynasty. The Bears, the Giants, those classic teams, they were back in a big way.
85 Bears, man. Super Bowl shuffle, that was the thing.
Totally. And you can't forget free agency, the franchise tag, changed how players got paid, how teams were built. Huge shift.
So much change. Even just during our lifetime, it's wild. And then the 21st century hits, and things get even wilder.
Y2K, right? But also the Patriots. Dynasty mode activated.
Brady and Belichick. Can't talk about the NFL without them.
5 Super Bowls, 2001 to 2019. Never seen anything like it. But at the same time, you've got Roger Goodell taking over 2006.
Didn't he walk into like a minefield? Wasn't easy for him.
Oh, tons of controversies, PR nightmares, the works, player scandals, labor disputes, you name it.
2011, the lockout. First time since the 80s, right? Almost shut down the whole season.
18 weeks, man. Crazy. And then the refs locked out in 2012. Remember those replacement refs?
Oh, man, those games are rough.
Yeah.
Blown calls left and right.
Total embarrassment. Sure, you can't just put anyone out there with a whistle and hope for the best. They need the experience.
No kidding. And then, of course, Deflategate. Brady and those footballs, what a mess.
The NFL went after their golden boy. 4-game suspension? Can you believe it?
It was huge. They were really going after him.
Dragged on forever. Brady finally served the suspension, but it left a mark. Hurt the Patriots' image, made people question the NFL, the whole thing.
Just goes to show you, right? Even the biggest stars, they're not above the rules, supposedly. Or at least that's what the NFL wanted us to think.
And then there's the whole issue of player conduct, off-the-field stuff, domestic violence especially. The NFL has taken a lot of heat for that.
People say the punishments, they're all over the place. Too lenient, mostly.
Yeah, it's tough. They're trying to find the balance, but it's a really sensitive issue. No easy answers.
It's bigger than football, that's for sure. But hey, the NFL is also embracing the future, right?
Yep.
AI, all that wild stuff.
Yeah, they're going all in on tech, using it for everything.
Right.
Predicting plays, tracking players even, replacing refs.
Whoa, hold on. Replacing refs with robots, that's a bold move.
It's definitely controversial. Some people say it'll make the games fairer, though. No more human error.
Guess we'll see what happens. It's a brave new world, right?
It is. And we haven't even talked about the NFL going global.
Oh, right. They're not content with just America anymore. Those London games, they're always packed.
Yeah, the international series is huge. People love it.
They're even considering a permanent team in London, right? Could you imagine?
Logistically, it'd be crazy. But it would be huge for the sport. Imagine NFL fans all over the world.
Would it water down the talent, though? Or bring in new players from everywhere?
Who knows? Exciting to think about, though. And they're not stopping at London. They've done games in Mexico City, looking at other places, too.
It makes sense. The whole world's a market, right?
Totally. Fantasy football, streaming, it's everywhere now. The NFL knows that.
Exciting time to be a fan, that's for sure. But let's take a step back for a second. This league has come a long way. From those brutal beginnings to, like, this cultural phenomenon. What do you think its legacy is, really?
It's America, you know. The good and the bad. Innovation, athleticism, yeah. But also those controversies, the social issues, it's all there.
From leather helmets to billion-dollar stadiums. Quite a ride.
And through it all, people are hooked. It's part of the fabric of the country.
The game itself, it's just, I don't know, brings people together like nothing else. Creates this energy.
And it's not done changing. 5, 10 years from now, who knows what it'll look like.
That's what's so cool about it, always evolving. But before we get ahead of ourselves, one last thought for our listeners.
The NFL, they're always adapting, right? New rules, new tech, always pushing forward.
So here's something to chew on. What's the next big thing? Robot refs. London calling, something we haven't even thought of.
Who knows? That's what makes it so interesting. The possibilities are endless.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive, something totally new. Until then, keep those brains working.
Absolutely. There's always something new to learn. We've covered a lot of ground, but
Okay.
There are a few more little nuggets in here I think you'll find interesting.
Oh, yeah. Hit me with them.
Okay, so remember those old team names like the Panhandles, the Universal Tractors?
Yeah, it's a trick.
Like, why name your team after Columbus or Moline, right?
Sure.
Not exactly, intimidating.
Right. It's not like the Patriots or the Buccaneers, something fierce,
Exactly. It tells you something about the league back then. Super localized, not organized,
Yeah.
These weren't big national brands, more like community teams representing their little corner of the world.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like your hometown team, but like a step up.
Exactly. And that kind of ties into another thing, how slow the NFL was to integrate. We talked about that owner, Marshall, being, not great. But it's bigger than just one guy, right?
You think it was more about the whole picture back then?
I think so. This is like peak segregation in America, right? The NFL is not immune to that. The owners, some of them, they were straight up afraid.
Yeah.
Integrate the teams, lose the fans, especially down south.
So they cared more about money than doing the right thing.
Seems that way. Sad, but,
Yeah.
Of course, the AFL, they come in, different story, signing black players left and right, guys the NFL wouldn't even look at.
Competition, man. It's a beautiful thing. Sometimes.
Right. And you see it again with the merger.
Yeah.
66, we talked about the rivalry, wanting to expand, but the money played a big part too. I know.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Both leagues, they're paying these players more every year, right?
Hmm.
Bidding wars, getting out of control, merging, let them pool their resources, kind of get a handle on the finances again.
It always comes back to money, doesn't it?
Well, it's a business, but hey, sometimes it works out, right? Super Bowl, for example. Not bad.
That's true. And speaking of, the USFL trying to force that merger in the 80s didn't work out so well for them.
Total disaster. Spent too much, made some dumb moves, and the NFL was just too big, too established, couldn't compete.
It's like David and Goliath, but David didn't fare too well this time.
Right. But the NFL, they just keep adapting. Which brings us to today, right? All this talk about the future, AI, going global,
Uh,
5, 10 years from now, who knows what it'll look like.
that's what's so exciting, the possibilities, right? It's like a living thing, always changing. But one thing's for sure, it's not going anywhere. The NFL is here to stay.
You got that right. So here's a thought as we wrap up. Pay attention to the NFL. It's not just a game. It's a reflection of us, what we value, what we dream about. It's all right there.
Well said. This has been fun. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah,
I always learn something new on these deep dives.
anytime. Always a pleasure to talk about the NFL.